Hey YouTube, Cam here. Not with a with an official fragrance review today. Really more of a comparison. You probably already seen my M7 Tom Ford Oud Wood comparison. I thought I'd do another comparison. This is another one that really in looking through reviews, if you go to Fragrantica and you look up this guy right here, I don't have a full bottle of this, just the Bonbon. So this is Wall Street by Bond number 9. It gets comparisons to this. I think you all know what this is. This is of course Millesime Imperial Creed. And I wanted to do a review today. It's not that everybody's saying they smell exactly alike necessarily. It would be insane to think that. But definitely talking about the similarities. And so I just wanted to give you my take on it. And so talk a little bit about Millesime Imperial. I would imagine a lot of you have smelled this, sampled it. Really nice stuff. Of course, what I get the most out of this is what everybody calls the kind of the saltwater smell, the saltwater accord, the saltwater vibe, whatever you want to call it, mixed with the melon. And the melon is beautiful. I was fortunate enough to get a bottle from the batch that has the melon, and I mean, as I think about it, I really don't notice the melon really going completely away as this dries down on my skin. I think the reason why people think that the Wall Street is so similar to the Millesime Imperial is because the Wall Street has kind of that. It's got that same saltwater accord, that same saltwater smell to it. I even saw some people reviewing it on Fragrantica saying that there was almost even a seaweed-like smell, a fishy smell to it. I don't really get that, but I do get the saltwater. I do get that similarity here as I smell these. Now, the biggest difference is that rather than melon, like you get in this has cucumber. And so you take what's already kind of a bitter accord or a bitter note, that saltwater note or accord or whatever you want to call it, and then you take something like melon, which is what you get in this, and it really supports it, and it kind of takes down the bitterness a little bit, which makes it just really enjoyable and really unique. Something that you don't smell in a lot of fragrances necessarily. And that makes the saltwater vibe, just bearable, enjoyable, different, unique. With this, the fact that they've taken cucumber, they've taken something that's very vegetal, it's very green. Some might say it's also watery. It adds kind of a watery vibe to it. But really, what I get, with what they've placed the melon note in this, going more along the lines of the green, vegetal, maybe even some citrus, things like that. This really just ramps up the bitterness of the salt water. And so I just wanted to offer my take on it. I wanted to do a comparison and tell you, yeah, there are definitely similarities here. The saltwater vibe is very similar in both of these fragrances. But then they go in, just what they use to support that saltwater note. The melon in here, very nice, very pleasant, takes down the bitterness of the fragrance and makes that saltwater note enjoyable, bearable, and unique. In this, the fact that they've gone with something more vegetal, more green, and even like I said with some of the other things that they've put in here, it really brings out the bitterness and almost amps it up. And so I have a hard time with this. Now, as far as quality is concerned, these are both quality fragrances. Everyone knows Bond number 9. I mean, you're going to pay a lot of money for this. You're going to pay a lot of money for this. Bond and Creed both put time and effort into their fragrances, of course. They make quality stuff. With your Millesime Imperial, and really just with Creeds in general, a lot of people complain about longevity. With longevity on this, I actually get good longevity. I will usually get at least 6 hours out of this. So probably pretty safe to say that I will typically get between 6 to 8 hours out of this, and maybe even a little bit more. What I tend to do with most of my fragrances is, you know, I'll hit myself once or twice on the chest, and then my undershirt here that you can see, you know, my undershirt will actually absorb some of what I've sprayed on myself, and I think that actually helps carry the longevity throughout the day. Probably a fairly similar effect to spraying it on your shirt. You know, some people do that to increase the longevity. But nonetheless, I probably get about 6 to 8 hours out of this, maybe even more sometimes, which is good. That's decent. This is a good, fresh, you know, almost aquatic fragrance. So good stuff. With this, I would say 8+ hours. This has really good longevity. And as far as projection is concerned, I would say that this projects better than this as well. Not that this is shabby in the projection category by any means. You're going to get, you know, good sillage out of this, at least for a little while. And, you know, it's going to hang around. It's not going to be completely close to the skin where nobody can smell it after you've had it on for a little while. But this stuff, even hours and hours later, this is still projecting. Like, you can still smell this. I mean, it's not the beast that it was in the first, you know, so many hours of the fragrance, but this projects really well, and it's got really good longevity. Now, that being said, you know, even though you're going to get better performance out of this than you are out of this, this I don't really care for too much. My wife is going to have to use this particular bonbon up because I'm really not going to use it a whole lot. This stuff, great stuff. Enjoyable, beautiful, pleasant to wear. It really comes down to the melon note. It comes down to what they put in here to support that saltwater note, which is, you know, like I said, kind of bitter, kind of unique, but works with the melon, works with the fruitiness. Don't really care for it when you support that same note with something sharp, green, vegetal, bitter, because it just makes it even more bitter, and I don't care for that. That's just my take. So, you know, between these two, I definitely give the edge to this, even though this has better performance. So that's, you know, that's my opinion, and you know, hope you find it helpful. You know, for those of you who may have heard that these are similar, or you know, might be wondering which one to try. If you're okay with fruitiness, if you're okay with, you know, fruity notes in your fragrances, and it's not something you find overly feminine or anything like that, definitely this is the way to go. If you do have a problem with that, and you like something that's a little sharper, a little greener, a little more vegetal, whatever, then this is the way to go. You're going to get good performance out of it. You're going to get pretty much that same saltwater note that you get out of this. So, you know, like I said, both quality fragrances, but this is the one I would absolutely choose. This is the one I would reach for 999 times out of 1,000. So, that's my review, or my comparison, if you will. Rate, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. More to come.